This is the story of Derek Engebretsen, an 8-year-old boy who vanished during a family Christmas tree hunt in December 1998. Despite one of the largest search operations in the history of Oregon, Derek was never found. Let us begin. Derek James Engebretsen was born on July 5, 1990, in Bonanza, Oregon. His family lovingly called him Bear Boy, a nickname that reflected his deep connection with the outdoors. When Derek was just 1 week old, his mother placed him in a backpack carrier and took him on a bear hunt. As he grew older, he spent countless hours hunting with his father and picking mushrooms with his grandfather in the mountains and forests of southern Oregon. By the time he was 8 years old, Derek was comfortable in wilderness terrain that would intimidate many adults. His parents later told investigators that he routinely walked distances of up to 20 miles through the rugged southern Oregon countryside. He knew how to read trails, understood basic survival skills, and had no fear of the forest. At school, his favorite books were the Goosebumps series by R.L. Stine, stories of mystery and the supernatural that he devoured one after another. Derek was described by those who knew him as lively and adventurous, a boy who seemed born to the mountains. But that familiarity with the wilderness would make what happened next all the more baffling. December 5th, 1998 was a Saturday. The Engebretsen family was preparing for Christmas, and like many families in Oregon, they had a tradition of cutting their own tree from the forest. That afternoon, Derek set out with his father, Robert, and his grandfather, Bob, to the Winnemar National Forest near Rocky Point, roughly 30 miles from Klamath Falls and immediately south of Crater Lake National Park. The area they chose was beautiful but challenging, a densely wooded mountainside above Upper Klamath Lake near Pelican Butte, a dormant shield volcano that rises more than 3,800 feet above the lake shore. The terrain was steep, covered in fir, pine, and manzanita, with numerous ravines and fallen logs creating natural obstacles. Derek was dressed warmly for the December weather, a blue snowmobile suit over his clothes, a denim jacket, an Oakland A's sweatshirt, a black sweatshirt underneath, navy blue pants, felt-lined boots, gloves with Goosebumps logos, and a hat. He carried a small hatchet to help trim branches and cut the tree once they found the perfect one. The three of them headed into the woods, splitting up to cover more ground as they searched for the right tree. This was not unusual. Derek had been to these woods before, including on mushroom picking trips with his grandfather. At some point during the afternoon, Derek told his grandfather he wanted to catch up with his father, who was walking ahead on the trail. His grandfather, trusting in Derek's outdoor skills and familiarity with the terrain, allowed him to go. That was the last time anyone in Derek's family saw him alive. When Robert Engebretsen returned to their meeting point, Derek was not there. At first, there was no panic. Boys wander, and Derek knew these woods. But as time passed, concern grew. They called for him. They retraced their steps. Nothing. Later that afternoon, Robert and Bob flagged down a passing motorist and asked him to call for help. The motorist drove about 2 miles to a nearby resort and placed a call to authorities. What should have been an immediate response was delayed by bureaucracy and poor timing. The coordinator for the Klamath County Search and Rescue Team was reluctant to interrupt the team's annual Christmas Awards dinner until he was certain a rescue was warranted. The search did not officially begin for nearly 5 hours after that first call, a delay that would haunt investigators and the family for years. By the time searchers arrived that evening, conditions had deteriorated dramatically. A blizzard was moving in, bringing heavy snow and temperatures far below freezing. Visibility was nearly zero. In the hours immediately after Derek's disappearance, his family and the first responding officers found something both hopeful and heartbreaking: small footprints in the snow. The prints formed a loop from the location where his father had last seen him to a clearing near a road. In that clearing, they found something that broke their hearts: a snow angel, presumably made by Derek. But then the trail vanished. A snowplow had passed through the area, erasing any tracks leading away from the snow angel. No additional footprints were found. Nearby, investigators discovered several pieces of chopped wood, evidence that Derek had been using his small hatchet. But where had he gone afterward? A crude shelter was found in the area, fir boughs arranged beneath fallen logs, the kind of shelter someone might construct to survive the cold. When search dogs were brought in, they could not detect Derek's scent. Had someone else built the shelter, or had the weather simply erased all signs of him? In the following days, volunteers found a candy wrapper and a bookmark from Bonanza School, Derek's school, near Rocky Point. Blood of unknown origin was also found in the area. Investigators could not definitively connect any of these items to Derek's disappearance. What followed became one of the largest search operations in the history of Oregon. The response involved hundreds of volunteers and professional searchers. They used tracking dogs, helicopters equipped with thermal and infrared technology, horseback units to navigate the terrain, snowmobiles, and all-terrain vehicles. They systematically covered approximately 1,000 acres using grid search patterns. Derek's parents, Robert and Lori, refused to leave the mountain. They camped in a donated camper van for 2 weeks. When the bitter cold of mid-December finally forced them to leave, they returned every weekend for the next 2 years. They kept detailed maps marking every area they searched, hoping for any sign of their son. On Derek's birthdays, they brought balloons to the woods and tied them to trees. Lori told reporters that she had not given up hope that he was alive. She prayed every night that he was somewhere safe. But the official search yielded nothing. 8 days after Derek vanished, the Klamath County Police suspended their search. Authorities believed that given the extreme conditions, Derek could not have survived long on the mountain. They speculated he had succumbed to the elements and that animals had scattered his remains. But not everyone agreed. From the beginning, troubling reports suggested something more sinister. On the day Derek disappeared, an unidentified man driving a black Honda had been seen in the Rocky Point area, asking for directions. Later that same day, another witness reported seeing an unidentified man struggling with a young boy near the forest. The witness did not stop, assuming the man was the boy's father. These reports transformed the case from a lost child into a possible abduction. Then, in September of the following year, disturbing graffiti was discovered in a bathroom at the Sargehen Rest area, nearly 300 miles south of the place where Derek vanished. The graffiti contained details specific to Derek's case. Investigators did not release the wording, but it was crude and suggested he had been abducted. Laurie and Robert drove to see the graffiti. Laurie told the press that she thought it was just a big, sick joke, and she asked, if someone had Derek and wanted to be caught, why not leave something of his there? Investigators removed a section of the wall and sent it to the state laboratory. Eventually, they concluded it was a hoax with no real value. In the early 2000s, the case took a darker turn. Frank James Milligan, a convicted minor predator who was serving time for attacking a 10-year-old boy, became a prime suspect. Milligan had already confessed to abducting and committing a deadly crime against another Oregon boy, Jeremy Bright, in the mid-1980s. Milligan's cellmate wrote to police and to the Engebretsons, claiming Milligan had confessed to abducting and committing a crime against Derek. When detectives confronted Milligan, he admitted to the crime and offered to lead them to the body, saying he would plead guilty in exchange for avoiding the death penalty. The Engebretsons drove to Silver Falls State Park, where Milligan claimed he had buried their son. The FBI brought ground-penetrating radar and scanned the area for hours. They found nothing. When the time came to sign the plea, Milligan refused. He withdrew his confession entirely. Searches at the location turned up no remains and no evidence linking him to the crime. It was another devastating dead end. Milligan remains a suspect, but he has never been charged. Today, more than 26 years after he walked into the woods, Derek Engebretson has never been found. No clothing, no hatchet, no remains. The theories remain sharply divided. Some believe Derek died from exposure and that his remains were scattered by animals. Others believe he fell victim to a predator who happened to be in the right place at the worst possible moment. The Engebretson family has never stopped searching for answers. They return to those woods again and again, hoping for any clue that might explain what happened to their son. The case remains open, and the Klamath County Sheriff's Office continues to accept tips through the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children. Perhaps the most haunting aspect of Derek's story is how a boy so comfortable in the wilderness, so experienced for his age, could vanish without a trace. Was it the brutal weather that claimed him, his small body eventually becoming part of the mountain he loved? Or was it the man in the black Honda, a predator who saw an opportunity and seized it? We may never know, but somewhere in those Oregon woods, or somewhere in the darker corners of human cruelty, the answer to what happened to Bear Boy still waits to be found. What do you make of Derek's story? Do you believe he succumbed to the elements, or was something more sinister involved? Share your thoughts in the comments below. If you want to hear more stories of lives cut short and mysteries left unsolved, please subscribe and join me for the next one. Thank you for listening.